Hey y'all, I'm JJ Conway, the Queen of Cash Flow. Before I get into my talk, I want you to repeat after me. I am abundant. I think abundantly. I act abundantly. Abundance is in my DNA. Abundance is my birthright. And I'm here to tell you today that abundance is in your DNA and abundance is your birthright. And that means we got work to do. That means we don't have time to be mediocre. We don't have time to be average. We weren't created to just be normal. We were created to be amazing, strong Black women, brilliant. You are a masterpiece, and somebody somewhere in this world is waiting for you to show up. The question is, will you do what it takes to show up? See, everybody wants to change the world, but I'm going to tell you right now, it is easier to change your world when you've got some money. So I'm going to share with you 3 ways to go from 6-figure debt to 6-figure income. I'm going to show you how to get out of your own way so you can create a life you're in love with. I'm going to show you how to identify and demolish your limiting beliefs about money. And I'm going to show you how to move forward in your money mindset so you can change your family's financial standing and leave a legacy for the 3rd and 4th generation. But before I show you those things, let me share with you why I'm so passionate about speaking on this topic. You know, every time I get an opportunity to be in front of a group of amazing women, especially during Women's History Month, where we're celebrating our accomplishments and we're really lifting each other up, celebrating who we're becoming, I want you to understand why this is a topic that resonates with my spirit, all right? Is that okay, everybody? Okay, so I want to take you back to when I first started in kindergarten. The teachers told my mom I was slow and that I would never really amount to much. They wrote me off. And so did most of the world around me. But my mom said not so, and she insisted upon a certain 2nd grade teacher, Mrs. Gilmore, who was known to help slow kids succeed. Mrs. Gilmore, in that first progress report, she wrote the same thing the others did, but she made it her mission to work with me until by the end of the school year, she wrote that my reading and comprehension were on par with my grade level. I was never the smartest kid in the room. But I was always the hardest working, and that paid off when I received a full-ride scholarship to the Air Force Academy. But at first, they wouldn't let me declare my major. The physics department said that Blacks couldn't do physics. Well, I declared physics anyway, determined to show them that you're not going to tell me what I can't do. One class, though, got so hard I almost quit. I began to wonder if they were right. Maybe I couldn't do it after all. I would go into the professor's office for extra help, and I would come out more confused than when I went in. After about 2 months, on a day when all the other physics professors were gone, he leveled with me. My job is to get rid of you. And if you will stop coming in here, I will stop feeding you the wrong answers. Oh, I stopped going into his office all right, and I graduated as president of the Physics and Astronomy Club. This lady who was told Blacks can't do physics, I went on to do physics for 23 years in the United States Air Force, being the first African American to serve in that role. One attitude that served me well was to remember that when the world says you can't, you gotta say I can and I will. Too many of us have given up on our dreams, on our calling, on our gifting, on our greatness. We let our vast potential fall by the wayside because too many people told us we couldn't do it. And that's exactly what I did after coming home from a military trip, to find my house sold, my stuff thrown out, divorce papers in my face. And when the dust settled, I was a single military mom with over $845,000 of debt that wasn't even mine to my name. I didn't know what I was going to do. I didn't know how I was going to pay my bills. Everyone told me that I needed to file for bankruptcy, but that would have cost me my clearance, and I couldn't afford to lose my job. I'm so glad a friend reminded me how I used to always tell her, when the world says you can't, you find a way to say I can and I will. So I learned how to hustle. I learned how money works. And let me tell you, it is not what they say on late night TV or in those hotel room meetings talking about the secrets of the rich. You know the ones I'm talking about, the ones where they're the ones who leave rich with all your money and you leave with a bunch of debt wondering what just happened. Today, I run an international financial education company, and that is why I am so passionate about helping my sisters go from six-figure debt to six-figure income. The very first thing we need to do is move from abundance thinking to prosperity consciousness. See, there's a big difference. When I first started to study personal growth and development, I did it, quite frankly, for the same reason a lot of you all do. I was broke. And when your most pressing need is money, man, at $845,000 of debt, my most pressing need was money. I figured if I could just have a little bit more money in my life, things would be okay. Now, I now know, and some of you probably know, that wealth and abundance is about more than just money, right? But back then, I just needed some breathing room. I just needed a little bit more money left at the end of my month. Instead of no money left. You got the checks in the checkbook, but ain't nothing in the account, right? And so everyone was talking about this think abundantly, have an abundance consciousness. I got to name it and claim it. Oh, if I just had faith of a mustard seed, it would already be done in Jesus' name. Oh, if I would just give, it would be given back to me. Oh, if you just believe, sister, you would receive. My. Let me tell you something. Abundance consciousness is fairly easy. It is not going to get the job done. Not when you're facing $845,000 of debt. And I'm going to tell you why. Because you can go look outside. You can look at a tree and count the leaves on a tree. Can you count the leaves on a tree? Of course not. Go out tonight and look up at the stars. Try to count all those stars. You can't count all those stars. Now, I love the ocean. Go just take one little Dixie cup of sand. Scoop it up, put it on your desk, and try to count each grain of sand just from that one little teeny tiny cup. Abundance is fairly easy. It's an unchallenging concept to buy into because it's everywhere. It's how God creates abundantly and perfectly. The difference, though, is do you believe it for you? See, that's the shift. You have to believe it, and not just believe it, but believe it for you. Abundance says wealth is everywhere. Prosperity consciousness says wealth is everywhere and it's my birthright to have some. Do you believe that the same power that created everything else you see in this universe abundantly, that it created you, do you believe that it's expressing itself abundantly through you? Do you believe that you can and should have that life that Jesus promised us abundantly? That's the part that people struggle with now, isn't it? And I remember when I first started in ministry, y'all, we were digging into God's promises, and I would teach and encouraging what I thought was a really good Sunday school teaching, right? And then would come the prayer line, and I would lay hands. And I tell you what, I believed everything for the person in my prayer line. I just didn't believe it for me. Isn't that interesting? Do you believe it for you? Because you can think it and not believe it. You can know it but not believe it. When you don't have money, I think it dominates most people's thinking. It's like this filter through which you make every single decision. When you go to a restaurant, having money and not having money, it's the difference between reading the menu from the left to the right or the right to the left, right? Because when I didn't have money, my starting point was on the right-hand side. What can I afford? What's the least amount I can spend and not get laughed at by these people I'm with, right? I know some of y'all more advanced than I am. You don't care what other people think, but I sure did. What can I afford? How can I get through this business meal without looking like I'm too hungry and desperate, right? Going to the grocery store. What can I afford? Trying to do the math of how much is this per ounce, right? Which one's the better deal? When you don't have money, it dominates your thinking. You're worried. You're stressed. I'd be driving and the red light would come on in my car and I'd be like, oh, what is this going to cost me? Everything, when you don't have money, creates restriction in you. It's stressful. It's worrisome. It's a weight. How many of y'all been there? The word associated with that feeling tone, that vibration, is scarcity. Scarcity. Scarcity, I think, is a good picturesque word, right? Because you're scared when you don't have money. It's a scary time. And so if we want to move from six-figure debt to six-figure income, we really got to change our paradigms. We got to change and challenge our current beliefs. Everybody keeps saying, girl, drop that baggage. You want to know why we don't drop that baggage? Or why we drop it, but then we pick it right back up? It's because we don't ever challenge our need, our job, or our punishment to need to carry that baggage in the first place. See, you got to challenge that baggage you've been carrying, all that programming from years back. Otherwise, you're going to keep being in the same cycle of drop it, pick it back up, drop it, pick it back up, release, bondage, release, bondage. It's programming, and you get the programming from everything. You get it from grandparents, your parents, religious beliefs, from society. So you gotta move to prosperity consciousness. You gotta believe that abundance isn't just for everybody else, but it is for you. The next key today in going from six-figure debt to six-figure income is that you have to become comfortable with the concept of being wealthy. And I mean deep down inside. I'm talking about breaking through paradigms of money and abundance that have held us back. It's really a lifestyle of abundance, not name it and claim it, not positive thinking, but a way of living and thinking that starts from moving out of that scarcity mindset and into a prosperity mindset. From poverty to prosperity, y'all. It's amazing how people get uncomfortable talking about money. It's just one of those things that we're uncomfortable with. And the more you get comfortable with it, the more you make money familiar in your life. And then the more it flows into your life. I remember when I was in grad school and I went to church on a Friday night and the bishop's tithe check from his investments and pension that 1 week was $3,000. And I sat there in the pew and I thought, wow, I only make $1,700 a month. And this was 25 years ago, y'all. That was a lot of money back then. His weekly tithe check was more than my entire month's pay. And I remember thinking to myself, I can't wait until my tithe check is more than my entire month's pay. And at that time, it seemed like a huge number. But 10 years later, we were making more than that, my ex-husband and I. Now, we wasted it, okay? And then he wasted more. I was on the military travel, and you heard my sob story. I came home to the divorce, found myself in $800,000 of debt. But let me tell you something. You don't get $845,000 in debt making $1,700 a month, because they don't loan you almost $1 million till you have proven on paper to the bank that you can handle that kind of money. And a lot of us want to be millionaires. A lot of you would tell me, if we were sitting at the tables today talking over some coffee or some tea, you would tell me you want to be a millionaire. But at the same time, you ain't never made $1 million, and deep down inside, it just seems too big. So you gotta begin to reprogram your mind, and first off, make it familiar. And if you have to, get a smaller number to make it familiar, to make it feel welcome, to make it feel natural. Maybe it doesn't feel natural that you should make 7 figures next year, but would it feel natural that you make 6 figures? Would it feel natural that you could make an extra $5,000 this month? Whatever it is, pick something that you can make a natural extension of who you are. Remember what we said in the beginning. Say it with me again. I am abundant. I think abundantly. I act abundantly. Abundance is in my DNA. Abundance is my birthright. And right now, I'll bet many of you don't even need to make $1 million next month. I know I got some high earners here. You watched me go from 6-figure debt to 6-figure income, and now you're on the journey with me to 7 figures and beyond, right? But most of you, man, if you could just get an extra $3,000 or $5,000 this month, so your heart doesn't sink when that check engine light comes on. Oh, wouldn't that be the stuff? If you could just have a little breathing room at the end of the month. I mean, that's all you really need right now. Some of you on here, all you need is just the ability to... But first, you have to make wealth welcome in your life. And as you journey to higher levels of income, you got to make each level welcome. Now, there's all kinds of tricks that people do to make the higher numbers familiar and welcome. So you could write it down. Now, I'm the sticky note queen when it comes to planning and goals, y'all. I feel like I never have enough time to do the vision board and do it right. And I don't know about you, but does anybody else out there feel like if you can't do a good job, you don't even want to do it at all, right? Like, I use that as an excuse for a long time. Like, if I can't do it perfect, I'm not even going to waste my time, right? And a lot of us do that because we haven't made wealth familiar, comfortable, and welcome into our lives. And so we do little things like that to self-sabotage. But nowadays, you know what? If I got to go and I don't have time to make it pretty, I just get a sticky note and I put it right there somewhere where I can see it several times a day, like in my mirror, or if I'm traveling, I put it right in this little spot on my laptop. You know, we see the number often enough, it becomes familiar, comfortable, and welcome in our lives. And another way that we make wealth welcome and familiar and comfortable in our lives is by not holding on to the things that are of lesser value. And not holding on to things that are actually damaging us and hindering us from achieving our goals. We gotta release those people, places, and things that are of lesser value so that we have open hands to receive the things that are of higher value. So the first step in going from six-figure debt to six-figure income is to move into prosperity consciousness, okay? Not just believing in abundance, but believing in it for you. All right. And so then the next step is to make wealth familiar, comfortable, and welcome in your life by focusing on the amount of wealth you desire and letting go of behaviors and associates who are no longer compatible with the wealthy person you want to become. The last thing we got to do, y'all, I know you're not going to like this. We got to learn the basics of how to manage your money. You got to learn how others are making money off of you, and you got to learn how to not be afraid of money. And this is where it gets tough, because don't nobody want to admit failure, not in the bedroom, the boardroom, or their pocketbook. But you got to learn how to tell your money where to go instead of always wondering where it went. And money's actually not that hard. We've just been living under all these limiting beliefs about money that make us afraid of it and make us think it's too complicated and that we can never figure it out. There are a lot of financial institutions, a lot of business people, a lot of husbands and wives, and even pastors. And I'm a pastor, y'all, so I can say this, right? There's a whole lot of people that want to keep you bound with limiting beliefs about money. It's time for every one of you to walk in every ounce of the abundance that God has promised you. And it's up to you. You need to start now learning how to manage your money and saving for the future. Now, I'm going to tell you, a reason a lot of us don't do this is because we don't have anybody in our corner to support us. You know how it is. You decide to get healthier. So what does your husband do? What do your coworkers do? Man, they bring all the donuts and chocolate. You want to go back to school, and instead of supporting you, they make you feel like you too much, you extra. Who do you think you are? Right? Anybody else been there today? I know I have. Jim Rohn said, look at the 5 people you spend the most time with, and in 5 years, your life will be the average of theirs. Look around in your life. Scroll through your last 20 texts. What's your life going to look like in 5 years? You tell me. And if you want more, then I want you to say with me right now, I deserve more. I deserve more. You deserve it. It was given to you from the foundation of the world. The Lord said that He came, that you might walk in abundance. So I encourage you today to find a group of like-minded people that'll help uplift you and support you as you seek out your calling. And if you signed a big contract tonight and you don't have somebody you could call and celebrate, you don't have somebody you could call up who won't be all petty and try to tear you down, then it is time to build a support system of people who are in your corner. My Building Wealth Together tribe, we're in your corner. We've done the thing. You want to make 6 or 7 figures? Then surround yourself with people who have done it and are cheering for you. If you don't know who else to connect with, you can start with connecting with me. I'm on social media as JJ Knows the Way. Now, I could take an hour talking about these false beliefs about money, y'all, because we really demonize the rich, and we forget that so many of the best things in the world, museums, the Carnegie Science Center, the scholarships, endowments, all them things happen from people who had wealth. You take away all the rich people, and all you got left is the poor, and the poor aren't developing vaccines. They ain't creating jobs. They're not opening up colleges or creating scholarships. The world needs you rich. And if the Lord didn't want his children to be wealthy, he wouldn't have given us over 2,500 scriptures on how to handle wealth. I'm going to close with this quote by Miles Monroe. He said, "The wealthiest place in the world is not the gold mines of South America or the oil fields of Iraq or Iran. They're not the diamond mines of South Africa or the banks of the world. The wealthiest place in the planet is just down the road. It is the cemetery. There lie buried the companies that were never started, the inventions that were never made, the books that were never written, the masterpieces that were never painted. In the cemetery is buried the greatest treasure of untapped potential. It is time for you to unlock your potential, and it is time for you to claim your birthright of prosperity." I'm JJ Conway. Y'all take care